Wanted, Elgin the Wolf, for the murders of 5 citizens of the village of Keeley. 1,000 pieces of gold reward, payable by Dominon, Reeve of Keeley. Good evening. I am sorry your visit to my village has come during such a troubled time. Oh, forgive me. Where are my manners? I am Domino, Reeve of Keeley. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Now let us get down to the business at hand. The roads and countryside all around my village are being stalked by a vicious fiend. He goes by the name of Elgin the Wolf. He has murdered 5 of my good citizens, and I fear more are soon to follow. My town guard are too few, and they have their hands full just patrolling Keeley proper. This is why I have come to you. If you will bring Elgin back alive to face my judgment, there will be a reward of 1,000 pieces of gold waiting for you. Good hunting.
Hello, and greetings, lovely person. This is RPGmodsFan, and in this video, I will be reviewing and discussing the recently released Dungeons Dragons Ravenloft Adventure, Prey of the Black Wolf, which was written by Christopher Justin Moneymaker. And yes, that is his real name. From this point forward, I will call him just by his first name, Chris. Prey of the Black Wolf was published by Dark House Rules in May of 2020. It is the first installment of the Black Wolf trilogy. The second installment, Clan of the Black Wolf, is due to be released in fall of 2020. This module was meant for player characters between the levels of 1 to 3. This module was written for both D&D 5th edition rules and for AD&D 2nd edition rules. Prey of the Black Wolf is available for purchase on the DM's Guild website. For disclosure purposes, Chris sent me free PDF copies of his adventure for evaluation purposes only. Otherwise, I am not receiving any further recompense. The Prey of the Black Wolf adventure is a gothic horror-themed D&D adventure. In order to achieve a more gothic horror ambiance, the Dungeon Master may wish to implement some house rules. Chris gives 10 suggested house rules, including no short rests, undead are more powerful and turn at a 1-hit die higher level, detect good or evil does not work, and other house rules. The adventure takes place in the Dark Fae in the northern part of the Demi-Plane of Dread in the Ravenloft campaign setting, specifically in the domain called Tepest. It lies sandwiched between Darkon and Count Strahd von Zorovich's Borovia. Oh, and by the way, the adventure is self-contained. So, other than the core rulebooks, no further material will be needed. The Shadow Rift lies to the south of Tepest. The rest of Tepest is surrounded by mountains. Most of its interior is made up of lowland grasslands and dark forests. Tepest is sparsely populated. The town of Keeley is perched on the Kashka Bluffs. The town of Viktal is located on the southeastern shores of Lake Kronov. The Timori Road connects the two towns. The player characters start just outside of the town of Keeley. The plot hook is that the adventurers become involved in an investigation trying to track down an accused serial killer known as Elgin the Wolf. The displayed wanted poster is what the player characters will see before entering into town. As a Dungeon Master, I would change this as follows. First, I would have the player characters start in the Tall Mug Inn in the town of Keeley as fresh arrivals. I would have Elgin's wanted poster posted on the inn's bulletin board, along with 2 other quests. Granted, these 2 new quests are obviously side quests, but I think your player characters will be appreciative for making the effort not to railroad them. I will now be discussing the adventure itself, and this video will contain spoilers. Unless you are a dungeon master who will be running this adventure for their players, I would suggest not to watch the rest of this video. As FYI, the domain of Tepest is ruled by a coven of 3 hags. The average person in Tepest only knows of the hags through legend. The hags make their home in a cave in the eastern mountains of Tepest. Cayley is a modest-sized town with a small population of 2,700 people. The Tamori Road bisects it. Most people are poor farmers, herders, and hunters. There are a number of abandoned buildings. Occupied buildings are whitewashed with bright, colorful flowers painted on their walls. At sundown, the people lock themselves up. After dark, the streets and pastures are claimed by wolves, bears, and other wild night creatures. The adventure's past chronology of events is as follows. A little more than 4 months ago, a band of brigands led by Elgin the Wolf attacked and murdered a family of dwarf silver miners in the Candlestick Mountains, which lies on Tepest's northern border with Darkon. Story goes, a week afterwards, Elgin got greedy and mad because of the silver and slew his men. Actually, what happened was Elgin and his men were set to ambush a wealthy merchant, but instead they themselves got ambushed and torn apart by a pack of loup-garou. Loup-garou are a variant of the werewolf. Elgin barely escaped and now hides in the silver mine. Starting 4 months ago, a total of 5 people have been killed in and around Cayley. Each person killed had some sort of connection or relation with Elgin. Elgin has been blamed for the killings. In actuality, the loup-garou are responsible for the killings. They are hunting for Elgin because they do not want the world to know of their existence. Dominon is the reeve of Cayley. As trivia, a reeve is a local administrative agent of an Anglo-Saxon king. Basically, Dominon is the mayor of Cayley and wants Elgin captured. His home is building number 8 on the displayed map of Cayley. The town hall is building number 6 on the map, where the player characters are most likely to meet the reeve. If the player characters have completed one of the side quests that I have suggested, then I would have the reeve more receptive towards them. Anyway, the other NPCs in town will be more forthcoming with information if the player characters are on official business for the reeve. Tor is a 5th level fighter and is the captain of the guard. He can be found either at the town hall or on patrol. Both he and the reeve can tell the player characters all about the slaughtered brigands and murder victims. Tor is the one who can give the most gruesome details, since he was one of the first ones investigating the crime sites. Before Elgin went into hiding, both he and Aliona were romantically involved. She lives alone in a cottage outside of town and has refused to leave for the past few weeks. She is a bard, is known for her singing voice, and used to perform at the Tall Mug Inn. Because the victims were known to be connected to Elgin, many in town fear and warn Aliona that she will most likely be the next victim. However, she thinks that Elgin could not be the killer. She knows that Elgin is a thief, but refuses to believe he could be a killer. I will discuss more about encountering her later in the video. Ingeld is the high priest of Chozur. Chozur's temple is building number 7 on the Kaylee map. He is a very influential man and is the Reeve's clerical advisor. Ingeld can provide some minor aids in the player character's quest of bringing Elgin to justice. Due to performing funeral prayer services, Ingeld should know information about most of the victims. Building number 12 is the candlemaker's shop. Hama is the candlemaker. When asked about Elgin, he will direct them to talk with the innkeeper at the Tall Mug Inn. Ofa is Hama's wife. Unbeknownst to Hama, Ofa is secretly the leader of the Dark Brotherhood. The Dark Brotherhood are an underground organization that helps those operating outside of the law, and are worshippers of the deity Set. At their home, when asked about Elgin, she will give the same answers as her husband. Without being obvious, she will ask questions to the player characters to find out what they know. Ofa is in contact with the Loup-Garou and will pass on any information she learns about Elgin. I will discuss more about encountering the Dark Brotherhood later in the video. Eofor is the town's undertaker and is a member of the Dark Brotherhood. Like Ofa, Eofor is also in contact with the Loup-Garou. Shepley, the gravedigger, is Eofor's son, but is not a member of the Dark Brotherhood. Due to burying the victims, both men will know who was killed and when, as well as their connection to Elgin. Also in the graveyard is a ghast that stalks it at night. The town's laundry is in building number 3. Unferth, the soap maker, is a member of the Dark Brotherhood. He will not reveal anything about Elgin. Outside and behind the laundry is used as a message drop point for those wishing to contact the Dark Brotherhood. Unferth is the one who picks up the messages. Due to the slaughter of his men by the Loup-Garou, Elgin fears for his life. He hid in the silver mine where he and his men mercilessly slaughtered the dwarf miners. He has rightfully deduced that the silver dust and ores in the mine will protect him from the Loup-Garou. But being here for 4 months alone and the horror of seeing his closest friends die has driven him mad. Prey of the Black Wolf gives much more details on the pictured 8 non-player characters, including providing character sheets for each of them. In addition, on his channel, Chris has a video on these NPCs. Link to it will be in the description section below. There are other NPCs whose knowledge can help with the player character's investigation. However, they are too numerous to mention here, so I will mention only a few of them. Aylesworth is the innkeeper of the Tall Mug Inn, and of course, knows of Aliona and knows that Elgin and his band used to drink at her inn. Onella, the chambermaid at the inn, knows as much as the innkeeper. Onella is also good friends with Aliona. Eldwin, who works as a groom at the stables, has a crush on Aliona. Unfortunately, Elgin approached her before him. Hey, that never stopped me before. But that is perhaps a story for another time. Anyway, Eldwin says that he last saw Elgin riding on one of the stable's horses north towards the mountains. Says that Elgin is part of the Dark Brotherhood, and says that he often seen Elgin communicating with Shepley the grave digger. Athwin is a seamstress. Elgin used to come to her to fix stab holes in his clothing. Yargo the tinkerer does not understand why Tor has not caught Elgin yet. He will say, "If it was the silver that made him mad, then find the silver and you find the wolf." Now that is a big clue that hopefully your player characters will pick up on. Johan, the coachman, first dealt with Elgin and his gang a few years ago. They blocked the road, demanding so-called road tax payment, and that the payment was to be put into the so-called tax box. One of my suggested side quests was to have the player characters hired as guards for Johan's next trip to Victal. During that trip, the coach will stop by a tree stump where there is the so-called tax box. Johan will put money into it and remark that it seems Elgin has not been taking money out of it for the past 4 months. The one NPC I find missing from the adventure is a cobbler. Cobblers tend to know a lot of people in their town. So, as a DM, I would add one. Prey of the Black Wolf details out 11 planned encounters, some of which I have already mentioned. I will now briefly discuss most of the others. The Dark Portents encounter occurs when the party enters the bazaar, which is area number 5 on the map. During daylight hours, it will be filled with merchants, entertainers, and local villagers trading all manner of wares. Also, there are 2 brightly colored Vistani wagons. A score of villagers have gathered to watch a lovely young Vistani woman dance to music being played by 2 Vistani males. One of the Vistani wagons belongs to Madame Otta, where the player characters can get a Taroka card reading. They draw in total 3 or 4 cards. The meaning of each card is given in the adventure, basically providing the player characters with 3 to 4 hints. The Dank exchange encounter occurs when the player characters have made contact with the Dark Brotherhood for a meeting. If they allow themselves to have bags placed over their heads, the party will be led through Kelly's sewers. When they reach their destination, other than the foul stench, they will also smell a hint of beeswax. When the meeting point destination is reached, the player characters will be allowed to remove their bags. The members of the Dark Brotherhood will be hooded to conceal their identities. Between the party and Opha and Eofor will be an iron gate. The 2 sides can then parley. Offa will say that every victim had a relationship with Elgin. We'll say that Aliona is likely to be the next victim, and will suggest the player characters go visit and talk to her. Ghastly Doings encounter occurs at night in the graveyard. The graveyard is stalked by a ghast that Eofor the Undertaker feeds corpses to. Another horror element is in Mausoleum number 3, where Rual's sarcophagus sits. Rual was Eofor's wife. She was placed alive in the sarcophagus by Eofor, where she eventually died of thirst. The player characters can also find various clues that show Eofor worships Set. The roadside death combat encounter takes place at night and occurs when the party is traveling on the North Road. The player characters will see a wagon pulled to the side of the road, and the horse pulling it lays dying. The wagon was attacked by unseelie sprites, 3 of which are now devouring the horse from its innards. When the player characters move in to investigate, the unseelie sprites will attack, including 3 more that were in a tree nearby. Aliona's cottage is located northeast of Cayley and is in an apple orchard. She has the door barred. She carries the coins of Charon, which looks like a bag of lead coins. When placed over the eyes of a deceased person who has not been dead for more than 24 hours, that person will be revived. Aliona wants to find Elgin. The night his men were killed, Elgin visited Aliona in a frantic state. Shortly afterwards, he left, and Aliona has never seen him again. Displayed is Aliona's map, showing the location of Elgin's hideout, which is labeled with the word mine on it. Elgin's hideout is now empty since he is cowering in the silver mine. When the player characters leave and are 30 meters away from the cottage, they will hear Aliona scream and hear a fight occurring. A spying loup-garou, who I shall name Pierre, has attacked and killed her. Pierre has also stolen her coins of Charon. The now wounded Pierre has left a blood trail that is easy for the player characters to follow. The trail will end shortly before getting to the North Road. If the party proceeds to the North Road, then the aforementioned roadside death encounter will occur. Displayed is an askewed cutaway view of the silver mine in the Candlestick Mountains. Entrance to the mine lies 600 feet or 183 meters up on the mountain face. Grotto number 4 is where Elgin can finally be found, and where he has been living in for the past few months. After the loup-garou attack, Elgin's personality has split into 2. One version is mad, the other is that of a cowering child. The mad side of him knows that the silver ores and dust in the mine are the only things protecting him from the loup-garou, and that side of him will emerge when taken out of the mine. Once the player characters leave the mine with Elgin, they will be attacked by one loup-garou whelp, and arriving within 2 rounds will be none other than Pierre the loup-garou, who will join in on the attack. At low levels, fighting a loup-garou will be nearly impossible. The DM may need to remind the players that Elgin's men and some of the victims were of much higher levels than the player characters, and yet they still were defeated. Nearby are 2 carts on tracks. If bound, Elgin will manage to break out of his bonds within a few rounds, and head for one of the carts to make his escape. Hopefully, the players get the hint and do the same. Like a wild roller coaster ride, the cart speeds down the mountainside at breakneck speeds, as Pierre is chasing them and tries to catch up. The adventure provides mechanics to determine whether or not the player characters are successful in keeping the cart from going off the tracks. Once the party reaches the base of the mountain, and if Elgin is still with the party, he will run to his hideout, which is a short distance away. At this point, the DM will have to treat the next few events like a cutscene in a video game. In this cutscene, the party is running through the forest with Pierre the loup-garou close behind their heels. The party reaches the hideout and bars themselves inside. Just at that point, Pierre arrives. It will take Pierre 3 rounds to burst through the door. In a chest, there is a large amount of silver nuggets and 6 large silver candlesticks. The candlesticks can be used as clubs. The silver nuggets can be used as bullets for a sling. There is also an escape tunnel within the hideout. Whether the party manages to kill Pierre or escape, they next need to get back to civilization, which should take them 6 hours if they are heading to Kaylee. During that time, they will be hunted by 7 more loup-garou. At this point, the party has a chance to reach Aliona's cottage. However, afterwards, the loup-garou will catch up. The loup-garou do not strike to kill the player characters. Instead, they will capture the player characters, but Elgin will be killed. The loup-garou then take the player characters as prisoners north of the border and into the domain of Darkon. The player characters being taken as prisoners into Darkon is where Chris's next adventure, Clan of the Black Wolf, takes place. Clan of the Black Wolf is due to be released in the fall of 2020. The Prey of the Black Wolf adventure gives detailed statistics to 4 monsters. Gub rats are the more virulent and stronger version of giant rats. Just to repeat myself, loup-garou are a variant of werewolves that can take 3 forms, which are that of a human, of a man-wolf, or of a wolf. Loup-garou whelps are newly infected loup-garou and are weaker. Unseelie sprites are the twisted and evil cousins of the Seelie fairies. On his channel, Chris has a video on these monsters and goes into more detail. Link to it will be in the description section below. Roll credits. Displayed are the credits found within the adventure itself. Prey of the Black Wolf is a very good adventure, especially for those who enjoy werewolf horror and the Ravenloft campaign setting. Adding my suggested side quests, I think, makes it better and less railroady. Although easy to figure out, the adventure does not have the read aloud parts boxed. My second criticism is the DM world maps are too darkly colored. Yes, I know the dark-themed maps add to the gothic horror ambiance of the setting. However, I am a grognard and my eyes are getting old. So, having an extra set of DM maps that are brightly colored and easy to read would have been appreciated. Thank you for watching. Hope this video has been informative and entertaining. Please subscribe, like, share, and comment. I do like feedback. In the description, there is a link to Christopher Justin Moneymaker's YouTube channel. Check it out and subscribe to him. He has other videos on his Prey of the Black Wolf adventure, as well as videos in other areas of D&D. Till next time, this is RPGmodsFan saying cheers, have a good day, and goodbye.
Better off as strangers. Believe me when I say, loving me is loving danger. Your heart is bound to break. I walk alone in the night, neath the pale moon. Loving's for the fools. Baby, beware of my body. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 Creeping through the shadows and the corners of your mind. I go where the wind blows. I run but I don't hide. I hear the call of the wild, whispering my name. No, I can't be tamed. My heart belongs to the night. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a